so here's a little tutorial on how to use the Flawless Flawless 4. So you're going to start with your primer. I've already put my primer on. Couple tips with primer is that you only need a little bit. And when I mean a little bit, I mean I probably use the size of a pea all over my whole face. I have tried using more product, and when I start to get too much product on my face, it starts to feel a little bit oily, I guess. I don't know if that's true, but a best way to describe it, but I just feel like it doesn't wear as well for me. So less is more, and then if you feel like you're not getting enough, then you can add a little bit more. The other tip is that you want to let it set. I let mine dry for about 5 minutes. I put mine on and then I braided my hair today. So that's the key for your primer is put it on and then do something else while you're waiting for it to dry. Okay, the next step is your liquid foundation. So this foundation, I don't know if you can see in my bottle, but it is going to separate. It's a powder in the liquid. So you need to actually empty the dropper like so. Okay. And then you want to shake it up really well. Because it is such a thin liquid, it will separate on you. And so to get the best consistency, you want to make sure that that dropper is empty before you mix it up. Okay. So then you're going to fill your dropper. And you want to use a brush or some other applicator. Applicator options, if you don't have this liquid foundation brush. I like this one because the bristles are nice and compact and stuck close together. So I have control over where I put it. You can also use some sort of a blending bud. Or if you have a different kind of a foundation brush you may like, that's fine. Okay, so I use 4, oh, I accidentally put 5. I accidentally put 5 drops, but I use 4 drops. I usually do it about like this in a circle. And then I just dot it on my face. And I start with foundation first. And then I'm going to buff it around in circles. I know you guys can see I've got some gnarly things going on. So you just want to kind of buff it out towards your hairline. And when you're looking at your foundation to make sure it's a good match, you want to be making sure that it blends into your neck. Sometimes we have a pale face and a dark body, or vice versa. Like me, I have kind of a pink face and a pale body, more yellow, creamy body. And so I want my face to blend into my neckline. You don't want your face to be a different color than the rest of your body. So, and when you're putting on foundation too, another thing people often complain about is that they feel like they lose their color when they put on foundation. That should be the case. When you're putting on foundation, it should kind of give you an even canvas to then put on the color that you want where it needs to go. So if you feel like you're washed out and pale, that's probably a good sign. Because you're used to having a little bit more nuance in your cheeks. I just poked myself in the eye, you guys. Okay, let me look in my mirror here really quick. Oh, see, I wasn't blended on my nose. It's hard to do in the camera. Oops. All right, that looks pretty good now. Okay, so your next step is going to be your concealer, okay? With your concealer, again, less is more. This makeup goes a long way, and if you layer it on too heavy, it will feel more heavy, but you don't need to do that. So I like to mix. I've had this concealer for at least a year, probably. So I like to mix it up. It's starting to get to the end here of this tube. But I don't feel like I need to do that with a new tube just because this one's kind of getting to the end here. Okay, so I have a little bit extra because I have a lot of these blemishes I'd like to cover up. So I'm going to put that, tap it onto my blemishes. Anywhere that I see that needs a little extra here. Okay. And then I'm going to do under my eyes in the same color. Normally I use a lighter color of concealer, but just for continuity here. I'll use the same. Okay, so when you put your, by the way, when you put concealer on under your eyes, you want it to be in this kind of like triangle shape. You don't want to just highlight underneath your dark circles, because then it's just going to, instead of covering it, it's going to highlight it. You don't want that. Okay, so now you can use either your brush or your blending bud. I like the blending bud, and you want to just tap to blend it all in. Okay, if you rub too much, it's going to move the product, and you don't want that. So you just want to kind of blend it in there, if that makes sense, just like that. And then depending on if you bought the setting powder or the setting spray, if I'm using the setting powder, I will use it at this point normally. I like to set my foundation and then put my powders on top. A good rule of thumb is that you don't want to put a liquid or a cream on top of a powder. It can kind of mess with the consistency. So you want to do all of your liquids, creams first, and then do a powder on top. So if you happen to have like a cream blush or something like that that you're using, or like a cream contour, you'd want to use that before you use the powder. You can use this on top of a blush or a contour because it's translucent. It's not going to change the color. It's just going to set those products. But because I use mostly powders, then I will use this. My setting spray, I like to use at the very end after I've done my whole entire face makeup. I do this very last. Sometimes I will use both, depending on how my skin is feeling and how, like, if it's hot or humid, I may feel like I need a little bit more setting power. So, but just depending on what you have, if you're using a setting powder, there are some things, tips and tricks. This has like a little mesh pillow here, and it's got this little circle. So I kind of open it a little bit. This helps minimize the mess. And then you want to take whatever brush you have. I have this powder concealer brush, and just kind of stick it in. And then you want to kind of press it. So a good place to put your setting powder is under your eyes to set that concealer really well. I also like to use it on any blemishes because I really don't want that going anywhere, or on my nose or in my T-zone. If I find that I'm a little bit more oily in that area, setting powder can help keep your makeup from moving throughout the day. And like I said, you just want to kind of press it in rather than brushing it. Okay? Press, dab, 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 just like that. And then you can go from this point. You are ready to add in any foundation, any eyeshadow, blush, concealer, or bronzer, contour, mascara, brows, anything like that that you want to add in. And then at the very, very end, when I use this, I want to shake up my setting spray, and then I'll do like an X and a T when I spray, like 6 to 8 inches away from my face, and just spray it all over. So hopefully that's helpful. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Have a great day.